today more than ever, because it seems like trust is eroding across the world, whether it's like government institutions, private sector, even and what do you call it, NGOs. We don't trust each other anymore. And it seems like every time someone comes up with something to offer, even especially if it's free or a gift, kind of the red flags comes up. So like, what's going on? Is this a newer trend, or have we always been kind of hardwired that way?
Well, I think that most people, a gift by its very nature is kind of unique and different. Like it's an act of, generosity. It's an act of kindness. I think the reason people have, red flags go up is because what's taking place most of the time is not a gift, it's a manipulation. Like if you're giving a gift with strings attached, if you're giving a gift or doing anything for anybody for that matter, it doesn't have to be a gift. I mean, if you look at a mentor of mine, and you're probably familiar with the book, Five Love Languages, Gary Chapman, this sold 22 million copies. It's a Christian marriage book, but the core of it really applies to all relationships. And the act of love could come as a physical gift. It could come as a favor or an act of service. It could come as a physical touch. And what I think that most people don't understand is if you give something to somebody and you expect something in return, you weren't giving a gift. That was a bribe. It was a manipulation. And so how do you know if you're giving a gift or a bribe? Are you pissed off when you give something to somebody? And whether that's your wife, if you give your wife something or your husband something and you expect something that night, it wasn't a gift. And so I think a lot of times people confuse, and that's the reason that there's red flags. That's the reason there's all these rules. And what I love about it is people are horrible at it, or they're afraid of it. And so they don't do it at all, or they do it so mediocre, it actually does damage. It's like, hey, I have this $1 billion client or $1 million client or $50,000 client, and you do something for them that's like, hey, I did $1 million with you. Here's a box of peanut brittle at Christmas. Like, makes me gag, right? It's like, does that show the value of the relationship? No, it's like a check the box. It's mediocre at best. And so I think this is an area of business that people just avoid because they are afraid of it. They don't understand it. And they don't like how it feels to be manipulated. So they assume all gifting, all generosity is that way. And when you do it the right way, though, it feels amazing for both parties because it really is an act of generosity and kindness. And it does deepen the relationship and it does inspire all the result. We want more referrals, more revenue, more retention, more loyalty. That comes based upon how a relationship feels about you. The emotional justification, like, I like this person, then you'll justify logically all day long with numbers and stats. But it comes down to, do I like and feel good about this relationship? And if you do, then you'll run through walls for that person and be loyal or refer business. If you don't, then you might transact, but you're not necessarily going to be all in on that relationship.
Mm. And I know we're going to get into a bit of the things we need to pay attention to from the book, because I know that's basically everything that we need to pay attention to get success with Giftology. But I'm very curious, with the title that seems to be like, wow, if I apply this technique that John speaks about, I can be more manipulative, I can get more of what I want. So I'm curious if you've attracted kind of a negative avatar that came into buying the book, and then you basically had to okay, let's rewire you because you need to look at this differently.
Yeah. Ironically, no. I mean, most of I would say we've attracted other givers. I think what I didn't realize early on, I've been doing this 23 years from solo man, financial advisors, insurance companies, like small shops all the way to Fortune 500. Who you are as a person, who you're being, is part of the gift. So if you're a douchebag and you give great gifts, you're just amplifying the fact that you're a douchebag. Because people can read between the lines and they can tell when they're being manipulated. And so I think that, one of my favorite books is Give and Take, Adam Grant's book. I think that we've attracted other givers in general, people they're already a giver. They're already generous. They just never thought about applying generosity and gifting, physical gifts, in a business sense. They might do that for their kids or their charity or their church or their home life, but they probably avoided doing it in business because they didn't want to look like somebody bribing somebody or whatever else. So I think in general, we don't have a high collections rate we're not dealing with D-bags. I think we are able to smell them out. But in general, we're telling people to play the long game. I'm telling people that you think you're playing the long game, your long game is 3 days, not 3 years, where, your long game is 13 days, not 13 years. And a lot of our best clients, it took 6 or 7 years to land. the Cubs, D.R. Horton, the largest home builder in the country. Most people, if they're using this manipulative, they're going to give to get, and they're going to try to manhandle somebody down to the ground. That doesn't work if you really want the bigger deals. And so, no, I've been fortunate. Maybe it's God's grace or whether it's luck, I don't know. But no, we don't tend to attract. I mean, we have some of the D-bags, but I would say it's 1 out of 100. Most of the people that are coming to us are actually people that are thoughtful, and they want to be even more thoughtful at scale. And that's why they're hiring our agencies it's not that they can't do it, it's that they can't handle doing it for hundreds or thousands of people.
I mean, like I said, when you get into the book, you obviously are talking about long-term. You have to give without the strings attached, and it requires a certain mindset to even consider doing that. Maybe if the book was called Bribeology, you would have attracted a lot more D-bags. Thank you so much for listening to the Selling with Love podcast. We have some previous episodes you can tune into right here. And if you prefer the short form content where you get to the point in under 10 minutes, we do have a ton of clips from our best episodes that are being shared on this channel as well. So pick which one supports you the most. And of course, thank you for liking, subscribing, and of course, selling with love.